What's up internet people? In today's video I'm going to be sharing my personal favorite spots to see the sakura. Sakura is just very beautiful anywhere that you go, so I don't think that you necessarily have to make a sakura trip, especially if you're coming from overseas. Anytime really, if you come from February until May, you should be able to see either sakura or something that looks like sakura. So I have another video that is about the plum blossoms. I prefer it over sakura because there's less crowds, there's a lot of like ume festivals, and the flowers themselves are actually usually bigger and more fragrant. If you are planning a trip to Japan, I've got a bunch of videos and I'm happy to help with any kind of trip planning, so feel free to leave a comment and I'm happy to answer them. So I'm just going to start this video out with my personal favorite spot to go see cherry blossoms. I'm going to go with Osaka Castle. The whole castle is surrounded by this moat, and then there's sakura pretty much all around the castle, so you can get pictures anywhere around the castle from every angle, up close, farther away. And because the land is so kind of spread out, you don't tend to get really big crowds. So during sakura season as well, they have these little food stalls which are called yatai, and you can get yakisoba or like the squid on a stick or takoyaki. You can get all these little snacks, and people like to do what's called a hanami, which is cherry blossom viewing. Hana is flower and then mi is see or watch. So it's like an event. You can get your friends together and set up a picnic blanket, play some music. Everyone's got alcohol most of the time. So Osaka Castle is great to see locals interacting in their own environment. Another great thing about the sakura at Osaka Castle is you can see it during the day as well as at night. I definitely recommend seeing sakura at night because they usually light up the trees from the bottom, so it's kind of like this eerie, mystical, magical kind of feeling, which is really great. My number 2 is Nagai Park, which some foreigners might know because they have the Teen Labs exhibit there, and I definitely do recommend checking that out. The light displays and the music and everything is really intertwined with nature. Nagai is more of like a residential area, so there's not a lot to see outside of the park, but Nagai Park is really great for the cherry blossoms because everyone is just really living their lives. So when I went there, it was like this massive hanami between foreigners and Japanese people. Families will come with all their kids, like they're playing soccer, they're dancing, and it's more of like a local experience. So when I went, there was also a live band that was playing with us. So if you want a more sort of authentic or Japanese experience, I think Nagai Park is great because especially in Osaka, people are really interested in meeting new people, especially foreigners. So I think it's a great place to have a hanami experience or sakura viewing experience with the locals, versus Osaka Castle is definitely going to have more foreigners and people that are just there to see the hanami, not necessarily to socialize. My number 3 is even less known than that. I actually haven't even seen it on any sakura lists anywhere. I only found it because I had some friends living out in the countryside and I was just looking at Google Maps and I saw this area that is called Hakone 1000 Sakura. I will put in the Google description of it, the maps link. So the Japanese word for countryside is inaka, and I would say this area is fairly inaka. It's not country, but it's really people that like drive and commute into the city. It's not in the city at all. So you can take a train and it's a very local train station. But this area is more for people who really want like the solo experience, or less about the socializing with people, but more about seeing Japan as Japanese people do. Because this is like an inaka area, it's more really just locals. Of course, on the weekends, they've also got the yatai. They were selling jewelry and stuff, but it's really, really beautiful because they've got this river. There's little foot bridges that go across every maybe like 100 meters or something. The cars can pass as well, and then there's trains as well going across. So you can see the train go over the little river. The entire thing is lined with, I'm guessing, 1000 sakura, probably hence where the name came from. On one end of it, you can see this big tower. It sort of looks like Tokyo Tower, but it's a really great place to just walk. You can walk on each side of the river. You can walk down, so you're right next to the river because the road is like raised. It's one of those places that you can get the river covered in sakura petals. So if you want like a day away from the city, away from the crowds, I would definitely recommend this spot. I'm gonna move over to the Nara region for the next 2. I'm skipping over Kyoto, so those are sort of the 3 big cities cities in Kansai, right, is Osaka, Nara, and Kyoto. Literally anywhere in Kyoto will have sakura, and they're all beautiful. So I just don't personally recommend it or like it because of the crowds. For now, sorry Kyoto, I'm gonna not include you on this list. So the next place on this list is gonna be Nara Park. So Nara Park is where all the deer are. Nara is so widespread that even though you're gonna get a ton of tourists, it's such an expansive area that you don't really feel the crowds as much. And then of course you're in nature again. You can find quieter corners and places and still enjoy the sakura, but it's a really easy day trip, especially from Osaka. You can get the Kintetsu line, which will drop you pretty much right in front, or the JR line also goes in, and both of them I think are 500 yen or less. On average, I'd say it takes about 30 minutes to get there, and they've got a ton of festivals as well. There's a ton of museums in there, there's cafes, there's shopping streets, and within the actual park there's all different kinds of shrines and temples and stuff like that. I believe there's a botanical garden in there as well. Number 5 on my list is Mount Yoshino. Mount Yoshino is really nice because you basically got this valley view. You can get to the top of the mountain, so the best viewing is at the top of the mountain, which is why it's a little harder to get to. So basically you take the train to the closest stop, and then you can either walk or take a bus up to sort of the walking road that goes up the mountain, and there's a ropeway as well, but there's tons of stuff to see along the way. So if you do decide to walk the whole way, there's all kinds of shopping and sakura ice cream, sakura liquor. This place is really kind of unique because you're on a mountain, so there's all these green trees of course, but then there's 30,000 of sakura tree all along the mountain. So if you time it well, you're just gonna see like a sea of pink trees. Really, really beautiful. Great for hanami. I just brought some snacks. And this spot also has been famous for centuries. This isn't like an off the beaten path spot, but because it is out in nature again, you're on a mountain, you don't really feel the crowds as much. So working my way up, there's towns all around Mount Fuji, but if you are a tourist and you want like English speaking accommodations and things to do after hours, I would recommend the Hakone or Fujikawa-Guchiko regions. The cherry blossom area that I want to recommend is called Chureito Pagoda. It's this red pagoda that is situated on the side of a mountain, and the whole mountain going up to it has hundreds of sakura trees along the whole thing. So you've got to walk up a lot of steps, but it is well paved, so even if you're not in the best shape or if you're really young or really old, you can still make it. It just might take a little bit more time, but the view is well worth it because you have this red pagoda, and then if you time it right and it's not cloudy, then you can see Mount Fuji with the sakura with the pagoda. So that is one of those kind of like iconic Japanese landscapes, I guess. So I would suggest basically situating yourself around the Fujikawa-Guchiko area. So accommodation is plentiful, restaurants are plentiful, but you can just take the train in and out to go see the pagoda and then come back. Probably take like a couple hours max. So number 7 is gonna be Hakone. One of its biggest draws, I think, is they have one of the shrines on the lake, like a floating red shrine, Inari Gate. And Hakone as well has a lot more things to do, which is why I recommend it for tourists. There's a cruise that goes across the lake, and then there's a ropeway that takes you to the top of the mountain. There's a bunch of other places to see sakura in Hakone if you're just in the area. There's parks and rivers and shrines and everything like that, but I really recommend the ropeway because I think it is a very unique way to see sakura blossoms. They have the active sulfur geysers, holes, whatever it is, the sulfur lands all beneath you, so you can see that all from above. So this area's got a bunch of public transport as well. So moving up again from there, I'm actually gonna stop at Tokyo. My favorite spot is Meguro River. So a lot of people think of Tokyo and they think of the more like city metropolitan areas, but Meguro is a little bit more quiet, and it's another one of those places that you can see all the petals falling along the river, and then you can see like a river of sakura. You can walk on either side of the river, and there's all these shops and little like drinking places, cafes, sakura themed drinks and foods. The vibes are just really, really nice. Continuing up, my number 9 is Hirosaki Hirosaki Castle in Aomori. This is the only place in Japan that I've ever made designated stop to go and see sakura. They always have like a massive cherry blossom festival. It's still not very crowded for how good it actually is, merely because it's kind of a pain in the neck to get to. So I have a separate video detailing how to get there and stuff like that, especially if you got a JR pass. Just the entire experience was so nice because the castle is lit up day and night, and this was like truly a magical experience. They have sakura trees that kind of go like this, so everywhere you walk you feel like you're in a tunnel of sakura, which is crazy. I think it is the largest scaled sakura place in all of Japan, so that speaks for itself. I think I really recommend going to see it at night because it's a lot more quiet and peaceful and truly magical. Like, I don't really get the same feeling of sakura anywhere else. There's a spot where you can see two sakura trees, and the way that they come together, I don't know if they cut it like this, they probably did, or they probably pruned the trees, but you can see like a little hearts in the trees, a cutout of the sky almost. Very beautiful. So my last spot on here is gonna be Hokkaido. Because Hokkaido is more north, it's colder, so the cherry blossoms get up there and stay a little bit later into the year than everywhere else. So Sapporo is usually where people fly into, but you can also fly into Hakodate. Sapporo does have the main park area where you can see sakura. Hakodate, they have this area called Goryokaku, which is a park. They've got an observation tower. If you see the sakura from above, they have like a moat that's cut out in the shape of a star. I personally like Hokkaido more just because it is a little bit cooler. I think normally by sakura season, I already think it's too hot everywhere else. Hokkaido is a lot cooler. I've been to Hokkaido in every season and I just love it so much. I think if I were to live anywhere outside of Osaka in Japan, it would be Hokkaido. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope that this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you want to see any specific content or if you have any questions. I'm always happy to answer. And I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you in my next video.